guys, I wanted to make a quick video here going over something that we talked about a bit in the last office hours, but I needed another study to be made to implement what we were looking at there as far as fading an inverse fair value gap. I have it here as the IIFVG, an inverse fair value gap. So setting this up, we have our low time frame fair value gap detector. I'm setting it to look for 1 hour fair value gaps and we're on a 10-second chart here. For granularity, this is not something you can look at the times it takes to load these. This is not what you would actually want to be trading on live. This is for gathering stats and analyzing how this thing works, at least in the sample under consideration. And I wouldn't put too much stock in this Sharpe ratio. This is a small number of trades on a small number of weekdays. But this was for purposes for illustrating what these studies can do. I have here buy zones and sell zones set up for our FVG signals. So you can see them on ones that have not been clipped here. Here's a 1 hour fair value gap down that has not been clipped. And we can see, and there's another one. And what we have here is a new study, signal subgraphs reflection, where we take a signal to reflect and we reflect it over the so-called reflection axis signal. So what that amounts to, let me show you with a little crude drawing. But if we have a subgraph here, as this line is the so-called axis subgraph, and then we have to reflect. I'm just going to abbreviate it. So the subgraph we want to reflect, let's say it's here. I'm going to do it little dots here. All right, then the reflected subgraph is going to be equally spaced by the distance between these two over onto the opposite side, and that's the result that our study will output. And of course, if it's closer, if the signal to reflect is closer to the axis subgraph, the reflection is going to be closer. I hope that is fairly intuitive. But here we have and what I'm implementing, if it's not clear what I mean when I say inverse fair value gap, is we have these signals that fire when we clip a zone. When we clip one of these signal zones, okay, so when we clip a buy zone, I have an IFVG sell signal is what I've labeled it, which is a zone clip. And then here's the opposite edge signal, this is what we're getting here. These two red triangles are from clipping a 1 hour FVG zone, giving us what would give us the IFVG sell signal if you were to trade this traditionally. But if we were going to actually invert that, because we decided that there was maybe more evidence for alpha on that one, again, grain of salt, do your own research here. But I wanted to fade it and keep the same risk reward characteristic. So you could do this in Sierra chart with a bunch of studies, but for simplicity, we can use this signal subgraph reflection study, which is giving us this white triangle here. So for this, I'm reflecting the sell zone, or the sell zone clip here is my axis, and this one signal to reflect this opposite side of the IFVG zone, which would have been my stop traditionally. I'm flipping it over here to use that reflected signal as my stop and use the top of the zone as my take profit target. And then I have these plugged into the stats collector. So, and for play around with this, again, I wouldn't put too much stock on these things. I haven't added in slippage and whatnot. I also have a fairly arbitrary minimum reward per contracts filter here, so because otherwise there's some very small ones. I wanted to make it only trading the substantially large ones, not these little guys, which you can see are being skipped. And that's all. I'll post this in the Discord, and you should. This is a non-trivial concatenation of our tools, and I wanted to demonstrate some of the things that you can do with it, and I hope it's useful. But in any case, this will be in the Discord, so take a look at it, see if you can understand what goes, where the wiring is and how it all fits together.